Hi everyone, good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. Today we will talk a little bit more about online broadcasting and what is it and what is it going to do for the world. And we have a very interesting man with us, an expert, I would say, on live streaming and doing the shows online. Um, Before I bring him in, I want to make sure people can watch. So if you guys can watch, please write on on the chat if you can watch us and where are you from and what do you do, so we can talk related to that. There you go. We have 61 viewers. Alrighty. So I have Leland Best with me. I love his name. There's no second best to him. He's the best. And I've never heard this kind of name before, but it's very interesting. Your parents must have wanting to be the best, so you became the best family. What's the story there?
I appreciate that, Rehan, and there is somewhat of a story behind that. I've just now recently started to track some of my lineage through Ancestry.com, and I was born a best. And then 2 years later, I was adopted by a wonderful man by the name of Larry Geiger, which is spelled Guigar. I used to always tell people it was like guitar with a G. So I had a lot of people call me lead guitar when I was younger. Well, I grew up with that name and that family for 40 plus years. I'm 50 years old now. And what came about during that course of time is I always wondered who my birth father was. So I had never met him. And it wasn't until I was nearly 45 years old that I met my real father in person. And his last name is somewhat of English origin and German origin, but we're not really certain. I followed his lineage back through several tracks, all the way back to Charlemagne around 700 BC, or yeah, I think it's 700 BC, somewhere in there. But the name is literally found quite a bit over in the UK. So that's mostly where that originates from.
Now, everybody who was watching, you can see a beautiful background with BCB Live and a set. And Leland, is this a real set we're seeing, or is this a virtual set we're looking at?
Actually, this is not my real studio behind me, but it does represent pretty much exactly what I use while I'm here in the studio. I'm in a small room, which if you'd like to see, I'm on a green screen, actually. So when it comes right down to it, if I were to just show you who I was without the virtual set, and pardon the extra, this is all this is. It's a small curtain to my office. So we're going to just hide that for now. But I use this set so that I can come in behind it. And it kind of does tell what it is, but I can do a lot of other stuff with that, which includes virtual sets that can actually be in motion. So sometimes I'll use something like this behind me, which gives me the opportunity to get a little exuberant and boisterous, you might say. But I prefer the set because that way people see my branding, and it also allows them to see the type of equipment that I use when I broadcast.
That's so awesome. And so, but I noticed that the chroma you're using is black colored, or is it green?
Actually, you can use any color you want when you do chroma screen, as long as you are in contrast with whatever it is your guest or yourself or anything else on the set is colored wise. Typically, people will use a bright green or a bright blue because not many people wear bright green and bright blue. So that's the norm. But that black is actually because I have filtered myself out as a layer within the software. So I have shut off, I can give you an example here. I can actually shut off the color key so that you can see what the screen looks like. And you'll see that all you find is a portion of it. And I can actually crop the sides to this. And the reason I do that is because I have a window over here on the side. So I crop out the window to match the green screen. And I have a very poor green screen. This is actually, it's about a $9 curtain from Walmart here in the States. So I don't have an official green screen, but you can see I can extend this out and do whatever I need to, and then simply turn the color key back on, which filters out that green color behind me. And I can make myself float in space if I wanted to. And this is where you see a lot of those effects on TV sometimes where you're like, oh. I'm somebody that's not really in just the immediate camera view. I'm actually playing around with a lot of other stuff through vMix. So.
This is so cool. So for $9, you have a chroma key, and I don't know what you, because all my guys are always saying, we need better lighting, we need better lighting, and you need this and you need that. So, hello, well, what do we need to do in order to set up a show?
Yeah, and lighting is probably the most important thing you can do when you prepare a show, Rehan. It's all about having 3-point lighting, which you need a key light, a backlight, and basically a light over the top of somebody's head. And you can look that up anywhere on Google. If you just go ahead and Google key lighting, or I should say 3-point lighting for video studio broadcasting, you will find several diagrams and several explanations of the types of lights. I actually use some very interesting, I'm going to turn one off here so a second so you can see. These are LED replacement bulbs, which take about 3 watts of power to use. So I've gone ahead and grabbed those, and the whiter, more natural type of light bulb that you can get, the better. You don't really want that soft white light. You want to be able to use a bright light. So I have a light here to my left, I have a light here to my right, and I have a light overhead, which helps a little bit. I'm still a little shy on being able to filter out the fuzz around my head because my above light doesn't work so well, but that one's just one I need to replace.
Very interesting. Is it possible to see your real studio, or is the camera show us?
We're getting some internet connection issues right now, Rehan, where I did not hear much of what you just said, and I'll explain something. Can you hear me okay? Is my video and audio coming through okay?
Now you're perfect.
Okay. The reason I want to specify this is because it's very important when you're broadcasting, if yourself as the host or someone that's with you as a guest starts to realize or experience severe breakup of the signal, that's always because that there's a bottleneck somewhere within the internet connection. The reason that what happens is WebRTC reduces the quality of the signal for the video to accommodate the slower internet speed. So what you run into is a situation where there's garbled audio and garbled picture. I always recommend to people just let that take its stride through the broadcast before you continue, or ask your guests to refresh their browser or check their internet connection, make sure everything's okay, because there's no real value provided if those people watching the show don't get what's coming out. So just a little pointer to keep things going.
I think it's my bandwidth issue, maybe. If I refresh, I think it'll disconnect. So I will not try to do that. But the coming back to my original question was, is it possible at the camera level that you can show us your room? Is the camera in position in a way?
Yeah, I can simply do this if you want to see the room. That's my storage facility. This is really just my little eBay workshop where I do my eBay business. So I have a small little fireplace in the back, and I have my little critter. My granddaughter just got herself a fiddler crab the other day as a pet. So that's sitting over there in that aquarium tank. And see, you can see where this little crop comes in from the curtain, where if it doesn't match up, that other thing, it leaves a line there. Let me just fix my curtain real quick so that doesn't happen. There. But
Wow.
I'm in about an 8x15 room right now, which I broadcast out of. So this is nothing fancy, but it gives me all the equipment that I need to do what I have to do.
And on the front side, the lighting, can we see the lights?
Sure, I'll go ahead. I'm going to pick my camera up, but it's on my monitor, so you're going to see things get a little crazy here for a second.
Sure.
I should have probably hooked up my phone for this because I can actually broadcast through my phone. This is just my standard standing light here. And then if I go behind it around me this way to the other side, I have another lamp right here. And then I have an overhead lamp, which is like a dentist lamp that comes up over my head. That's just some scrap stuff that I found laying around at different places that I utilize rather than going. But I have links on my BCB Live website because I don't have the room for a large lighting complex here. There is some cowboy lighting links there through Amazon on my website that will show you the simplicity of like a $50 to $100 setup for lights in a larger room.
This is amazing because I am interested in doing these live interviews because I want people to create content in bulk. I'm not really after quality right now. I'm after people to get over their own fears and over their own um, self-imposed obstacles of going live and showing videos and doing all that. So once you have done 5 or 10 interviews, then you decide, oh, you know what? I am no longer scared how I look like, and now I want to go out and get a better lighting, a better camera, and really I'm really enjoying this, and now I want to do this. So I'm always telling people, just do it, because just doing it will get over your fear, and that's the biggest problem in broadcasting, in my opinion, that people are just fearful of what would people say, what would I do, I will be dead, yeah, it's like
Absolutely.
those things.
Well, one thing I always recommend to people who have never broadcast before, and even if you're not ready to go live, and this was something I did for myself because I've been recording since early days. I'll just give you a little background on me, Rehan, because you don't know as much about me and as I may know about you based on your profiles. But I was in radio and television when I was in high school for a few years. So I used to broadcast to my alumni. And then I went from there into a local cable company, which gave us public access through their television network. So I went ahead and I got certified in production, set production, studio editing, and camera production out in the field. And in that process, I learned a lot and I also did a lot. But from that point on, I left that business and I went into civil engineering for 25 years. After that, I left that business and became a DJ. So I was out on the stage for a few years doing music and dance and things like that with people. So I became very comfortable in front of a camera and an audience. I always tell people, if you're not to that point, just record video. And if you don't like it, delete it. Just get rid of it. Ignore it. Forget about it. Just let it go and then do it again and again and again until you do feel comfortable with it. And then with things the way they are now, you can go live with one button. You can simply push the button and you're there. It's so easy to come out here now. For us, it was never this simple. It took a lot of work and a lot of software and a lot of technical know-how. So this is something that is opening up doors for everyone around the world.
So I'm glad you brought that up. So what do you think is the power of live for a common person around the globe, not just in the US or in Pakistan, but around the globe? Well, let's just keep these two countries in context right now, because you're from the US, I'm from Pakistan. And what do you see the advantages of doing a live show?
Well, I think from what we've experienced over the last few years, it's not so much about, let's look at it for what it is. We can either present a message, we can create a community, or we can simply become friends. So we have these three options, let's say, that at our disposal, where if we run a business, we can come out here and connect with our followers. We can connect with our customers and our clients. And there are several ways to go live. We don't have to necessarily broadcast to a Facebook page or a YouTube channel. We can go live on screen with some of these private network package platforms that are available, where you can be in a group setting with several people on live camera and communicate. And then we have those who are secluded, that don't have the opportunity to get out of their homes and move down the road to meet new friends or go out shopping, even for that matter, or be part of the community. So this helps to build community. And that's really where we've noticed the most advantageous part of live streaming is building community and getting together with other people that have other experiences that we're not aware of.
Okay. That's brilliant. That's a great way to look at it. I look at it in a way where the reason I feel that the reason people don't do business or don't do anything in certain in life is because of their fears of what would people say. So my purpose of doing this is to give more confidence to people, that they can go out and they can be who they are, which is normally, like we have a saying let me give you a joke here. So if a kid in the US is wearing a Superman t-shirt, the mom would probably say, yeah, you can go and do that. That's, of course, I'm not trying to say everybody is exactly the same, but still in general. Whereas in Pakistan, if the kid was wearing a Superman T-shirt and he said to mom, "Mom, I want to be a Superman when I grow up," the mom will give him a slap and say, "Hey, go to school." So it's more like there's a huge lack of self-belief in the entire underdeveloped world, where people are coming in from being a under ruled country, and those people who have taken over as the government are still not really helping them to self believe that they can actually do anything they want. They just are of a certain mindset. So my purpose of doing all this, what I'm doing, is to create more self belief in people. And I found that when people go live or they do videos, or they are able to listen to whatever people are saying and just keep on doing what they want to do, they just grow, and then the economy grow and the country grow and everything grows. So this is my way of trying to figure out how to use this technology for economic growth and other self growth.
Well, your mission is obviously one that I commend, Rehan. Could you pronounce your first name for me? Because I've had difficulty actually knowing. Is it Rehan? Rehan?
You can call me Ray, but it's
Oh,
pronounced Rehan, but it's written Rehan. So you're fine without whatever. I'm not very particular about how people pronounce my name. I don't really care about it.
oh, okay. But I totally understand where you're coming from, and I'd love to touch on that for just a moment, because I do not live in a country that is persecuting us on a daily basis. Although, and I'll be honest, I'm Jewish, and here I am sitting with a Muslim over in Pakistan, and I love the fact that we as individuals, as people of the world, are able to ignore what all of the mainstream media is telling us to believe. What we are creating our own media channels. We are able to come out world and say, we've had enough. We don't want to watch your commercialized garbage. We don't want to sit here and be told what to believe or told what to think. We know what to think, and we know what love is. We know what peace is. We want that in our world, and we're going to come out here and we're going to show the world that we are capable of doing this ourselves. We don't need the help of those elitists that believe they can control us as a group of people or individuals in mass. And we're stepping up and we're saying, enough is enough. We have a voice, and we want that voice to be heard. And I think that's the huge advantage of being able to broadcast to what we could call our own television stations. Unless the governments try to step in and control this and take over and tell us we can't do it, we will continue this struggle and this fight to come out here and say all that we can to come out here and do what we can. So that's what it's all about.
Right. Well, since you're Jewish, Shabbat Shalom. I don't know. I thought,
That's
I
okay.
guess you're not practicing, but
I am a practicing Jew to an extent, but I'm not a very heavily Orthodox Jew, so I'm more of a conservative Jew, and that's what it's at.
okay. My photo for today was going to be a rabbi, me dressed up like a rabbi, because it's Sabbath. So yesterday was being a Sikh, because a group of Sikh people made a mosque in Turkey for some refugees. So I was just saluting to them with a nice Facebook profile photo. And today was going to be the rabbi photo. I haven't received it so far. My guys didn't show up. So coming back to, if you look at one of the comments, I don't know if you can see.
Yeah, I see.
So how do you deal with this kind of messages when you go live, for example?
Well, I'll tell you right now, we have a term for what that was, and what that is it's called trolling. And it's because the people who are doing the trolling are normally insecure with themselves. They have to attack others. So what we have learned over the course of time is it's honestly better to ignore the trolling, because what you're doing, if you present it or even address it or even highlight on it, you give them a voice and you give them strength in trying to intimidate and interrupt the broadcast. So we have learned the best thing to do is just kick them out of the room and get rid of them as soon as possible, because they're not here to produce any type of value for the show. They're only here to really make it harder for us to do what we're trying to do, because they're not happy with their own lives. So I'm sorry to say, but that's what we've discovered over time through hundreds, if not thousands, of encounters with these types of individuals.
All right. So thank you for that. My friend Rana Imran is here. I introduced him to Be Life 2 days ago, and he has done in the last 2 days, I would say 24 shows or something like that. It's a
Right.
phenomenal that he's just he's like three
Yeah,
o'clock in the morning he's doing a show, 8 o'clock in the morning he's doing a show. He's like he's loving it, I think.
that's fantastic.
Um,
That's a difficult task. I mean, I've done hundreds and hundreds of episodes. I used to do a daily show with a gentleman by the name of Jonathan Tripp that was at 10 a.m. every day, Monday through Friday. And he did most of the background work for the show. I would come in as a co-host and kind of mess things up a little bit for him. And we would play on that. And we did this fun show that we've got a lot of followers with, and we enjoyed the company. And since then, we've gone off in different directions and do our own things. But it's just the fact that it is a lot of work to do those kind of broadcasts, but if you're good at it, you can certainly. I see the comments keep coming through about flying high, and I do believe the more you present yourself in that fashion, you continue to get out there and show your face, and they hear your voice. And speaking of voice, it's always a good idea when you save these recordings to consider taking the audio and using them as podcasts. So never forget to be able to work that out and use that as part of your entire program. And thanks
yes,
for all
my
the comments we're seeing down in the chat, Rehan. I have to just say that your audience is obviously a very loving audience, and I really appreciate that over these last couple of few days, I've probably had at least 100 friends requests from some of the people that follow you. And I'm having conversations in the back end, and I've met individuals as simple as a 20-year-old college graduate who wants to come to the U.S. and become a geologist, to an individual who I left a post for you who was lost an eye due to a baseball injury or some type of sporting injury. And he didn't come to me looking for money. He came to me looking for help. And I didn't know where to go because I don't know doctors or eye doctors, but these connections are amazing that are taking place over the last couple of days. So I want to thank you for that.
Yeah, I would love to have more people. I got one guy messaged me in the morning that you referred him to me, and I added him and I gave him a shout out and I inboxed him saying, I hope you don't die of the friend request because you will really get a lot of friend requests. Um, so for 2 years, I wanted to write a book, and I wanted to prove that by changing your circle of friends, not only in the physical world but on the Facebook world, if you could change your friends, your life just changes. So I wanted to prove it, and I started offering one laptop, and then it became two, and I've given 300 laptops so far, and mobile phones. Yeah, and now I have a community of 500 people who have stolen 500 of my Facebook friends. My friends include Steve Wozniak, Steve Case, the AOL founder, the CNN owner, the Wall Street Journal editor. I collected all these people over the years, and I just opened up my list and said, you know what? If you go out there and you take 500 of my non-Pakistani Facebook friends, I'll give you a laptop, but then I'll interview you before that. And every single person who did this just changed and just totally transformed. It's like bringing them out of a cocoon.
Yeah.
And one of the boys, I will introduce you later, he actually went ahead and co-founded a new company with Steve Wozniak, who he has never met, but he's just friends with him or Facebook. Today he introduced me to the founder of Google Plus. Yesterday he introduced me to another virtual reality CEO. He has just become a Facebook commando over networking over the last 2 years, just by talking. You become so good at it. It's like the best car salesman can just sell you anything, right? So that's what these people are becoming. And the reason, another reason I'm doing is all the underdeveloped countries. The problem is the people.
Your signal's breaking up a little bit. I would want people to hear whatever it is you're about to say. So give it just a second to reset and get. And I do believe, just to make certain, Rehan, if we'll check with Zafrir and Daniel over there in Israel and make certain that this platform, I'm pretty sure you can refresh, because as a host, they've given a window of time that the show will continue to broadcast live, even though the host does have to reconnect. So that's been my experience throughout. I just don't want to say go ahead now because I can't confirm that. I'll be honest, I don't normally use Be Live TV, but that's not because I don't like Be Live TV. It's because I use other means. There's Stephen. Stephen Healy's the man to talk to about this right here. Stephen Healy comes out here and does a show every Monday morning for the Be Live Weekly with Jeff Adams. And Stephen has also done a Udemy course on how to do Be Live. So if any of you out there really need to know exactly how this system works, just get a hold of Stephen Healy. He'd be happy to set you up with his programming course that tells you exactly how to use this software. Me, I use vMix on the back end. So my productions are a little bit different than what Be Live does, but I do hang very closely with the community over here at Be Live and know a lot of people as friends that use this all the time.
I saw some messages from Shahryar, who is now our vice president of entire social media work, which we do. He was, I created a social media marketing company 8 years ago, or it was something like that. And he was heading that. But now he's going to, so he's the one who checked out the software earlier and he was having some difficulty. But I don't want to.
With him.
Yeah, you have.
Before the show, and I'll make an address specific because a lot of people are going to run into this if they go out and think they can stream to YouTube immediately. You won't, because in order to stream live on YouTube, you have to have an account that allows for that type of access. And in order to do that, you have to either have an original channel that has access, and you can create a branded channel under that so that you can then immediately get access to the new channels, which you can create up to 200 of. Or you have to work in enough subscribers, which I think is 100 or so, before you can be, what is it, 1,000? That's right. To where you can be granted access through YouTube Live. So a lot of people are going to think that they can jump out immediately and use vMix, but then you also have to log in and find the URL link and the secret key that's used for your individual live channel on YouTube to enter into the software before you try to connect with vMix.
We have the individual channel, we have permission to do live. It was just the software, he's not getting used to it. By the way, does vMix work on a Mac?
vMix will only work on a Mac, Rehan, if you use the software known as Boot Camp, which is a Windows emulator that allows you to run Windows software on it. They have not created, and I don't think they have ever intended to create, a software package that will work for Mac. I'm not to say that that's a generalization. I don't know for certain if that's what Martin Sinclair's conditions are, that he just wants to remain on a PC platform or not. But that's something we can certainly push. The louder the voice becomes that we want a Mac version of this, there's more potential for that to actually happen.
Yeah, I think they have the PC and Mac, but I am using a MacBook Air and I cannot install heavy software while I'm traveling. So it will, I don't think I can use it, but I would love to. I saw Zephyr to say that I would love, for example, this Be Live could have went directly on my Twitter, on my YouTube, and I could have all that audience engaged at the same time. I'm using Be Live, so it's sending to Facebook. It can also send to, YouTube and to Twitter. If Facebook doesn't allow, maybe they can have a version where it says you can choose to broadcast on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter and not at the same time because of Facebook's policy. But once that happens, we can, force Facebook to open up and allow us to broadcast everywhere. That's sort of mean for them to.
Well, the TOS, which is the terms of service that Facebook requires that you cannot broadcast to more than just their own platform at once, is only in regards to the API, which is the connection that they've created recently so that we can go live with one button. The original way to broadcast through Facebook Live was to use RTMP, which is the real-time media protocol from the back end. And if you use that protocol through third-party encoders like I'm doing here, where I'm not in Be Live doing this, I'm doing all this with my software, but Be Live is the broadcast method we're using. In my case, I use vMix as the broadcast method, and then I'm able to send the signal in that fashion through the back. I can broadcast to Facebook and YouTube and Periscope at the same time. And there are also sites out there that are known as syndication sites, such as Restream.io and Switchboard.io. live where you can connect one signal out and have their distribution servers send your signal out to as many as 500 different locations. But we've discovered most of those locations are, kids playing video games and things like that. So we try to stick with the big three: Facebook, Twitter, or Periscope, which will probably become Twitter Live shortly, and YouTube. Those are the ones that have the most traction, they have the most viewers, and they have the greatest flexibility and greatest quality in broadcasting. YouTube, of course, being the only one right now that has a format in HD for the archive. Everyone else is below that quality right now.
So what are the 3 tips you will give to a person who wants to start broadcasting?
To start broadcasting? Okay, that's one I wasn't expecting today, but it probably was. One, don't ever let someone tell you can't, okay? Because everyone has the capability. It's a simple conversation. There's not much to it. 2, don't expect to come out here. Let me put it this way. Don't throw thousands of dollars at this right away. Come out slowly. I'm running right now on a system that uses, I use a pro version of vMix, which is about a $1,200 package, but I'm also a reseller. So it's one of those things, you work with your company and you get access to it. You can get this software for free and use it, but it won't be $720. So look at whatever software you can find that's free to broadcast. BeLive is one of them. So there you go. There's no cost in software. Make sure you have hardware that's capable of doing the broadcast. You will not be able to broadcast live with a 2-core processor and 4 gig of RAM. You need to come out here with a decent computer, which means try to find something with at least a quad-core processor. Make sure you have, or try to have, 8 gig of RAM on your machine, and look for a decent microphone. If you spend any money at all, spend it on a microphone, because the audio is the most important. Your video can cluster and make a mess, but if somebody's watching you and maybe they're working or something, at least they can drag the window over to the screen and shut down the video and still hear your voice, just like podcasters do. And, from there, the cameras are so inexpensive. The camera I'm using right now that's producing 720p audio to you is a Logitech C920, which you can find on Amazon for $60. They do have newer models out now that have come out recently. I forget the name of the latest one. It's like $200. I have all the links you need in the link I left in the comments section over at BCB Live. If you go through the menu structure there, you'll find every aspect of software, hardware, platforms, anything you want to do live is all on that site. So simply go over there, look at what's there, and you'll find all the hardware you need. But if you drop more than $500, you're looking for spending way too much right off the bat. And then as you get well known, start to buy new equipment and add to your system, and then we'll go from there.
Wonderful. One last question is from Imran, which he's asking. He has an HDMI. He has a regular DSLR camera, which he wants to connect to BeLive. How can he do that?
Well, those are features that can be done using third-party softwares like vMix. You have to be able to connect. Now, HDMI cameras, sometimes you have to get a converter to convert it to another format, but normally that input source is available. HDMI can be converted to USB, but I find as long as you have the right equipment, like in order to do that, you would need a video card, let's say an NVIDIA 740 GTX. I'm just throwing that number out there. You would have not only your connection ports for your monitors, but you would have a couple extra HDMI connecting ports that you could add a video source to. And then you can just simply port that in through the software. BeLive is WebRTC, which is the web real-time communications, which is allowing us to broadcast through a browser. So the browser handles all of the audio, all of the video. And being in its infancy still to this day, because it's only been around for a couple of years, although streaming has been around for 10 or more, this is a new technology. It's a little glitchy. There's a sound thing that happens in the audio that we call Gilberting. It was coined as a phrase a couple of years ago by a gentleman that used to do voiceovers for some of the video games out there. So it's in the Urban Dictionary. You can find it. It's when the audio starts to freak out, we just say refresh, you're Gilberting. And those are the kinds of things, that we contend with. But we're looking forward to what's advanced. Once we see gigabit internet across the globe, when everyone has high-speed internet, broadcasting is going to change once again, and everything's going to take a whole new stance. It's going to be amazing.
Wonderful. So, last words to your fans about your experience of adding new friends which you don't know from other parts of the freaking out. What should they do?
And I had this conversation just the other. We had an appearing the other day, which is a private video chat system that I use exclusively, and it is interesting that some people aren't ready for that. They just don't know it's coming, and when they do, we just have to understand we have to take a little bit of time for a moment and review who is friends requesting us. And I would ask that all those people out there who have friends requested me, I am getting to you. It's going to take me a little while because I have so many, but I do make sure I vet those people that I friend because I have close family and friends that are on my friends page. Although I do want a large following, I go through each and every one of your profiles and I look at who you are, what your family photos are like. I see where you work. I see where you went to school because that's important to me. I want to know that it's a real profile. And I know your profiles on your page have come through from doctors, lawyers, businessmen, college kids. It's all real. And I appreciate that because you have a verified account. That's something I don't even have yet. And it's a task to get one through Facebook with that little check mark next to your name that says you are who you are. So it does take a moment to just sit down, relax, experience it, let it flow. Just go in there and talk to these people and you'll realize how loving the individuals that are coming across and making friends requests from over there in Pakistan and Kashmir and several other places out there where you're at that are Indian occupied territories that are struggling to make communications and reach out to people across the globe. So thanks for that.
Thank you so much. Being a Jewish person, we're not an Israeli, but I do have a show called Meet an Israeli. I do have another show called Meet a Palestinian. So I do this so that people who are wanting to die for them, but they've never met them. So I would love for them to at least talk to them instead of dying for them. So the interaction is so much possible now, but it's so hard. People just don't trust themselves and the technology, and it's just so much fear in our lives that we just, I don't know what will happen if you friend someone with a beard. For God's sake, you have a beard, Leland. So, anyways, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. I enjoy
and
it.
I encourage.
Well,
And I encourage.
if they ever I just wanted people to know there was one thing I wanted to mention. I don't normally broadcast from my profile like you just did today. And I'll tell you why. I created a fan page, and I don't like to call them fan pages, honestly. It's simply a business page. But mine is called @LelandBestLive. And I recommend highly because of the additional features that are available on those pages and the little extra push that Facebook gives those pages. It's great to broadcast a friendly conversation out on your profile, but I would say create a page, give yourself a name brand of your own, like mine, Leland Best Live or whatever, and go out there and do some broadcasting on that and share that out. So I highly recommend all of you go over there because that's where you'll find my broadcast if you want to catch me.
My experience is my page has 550,000 plus likes, but I am not able to get a lot of audience over there. When I grew the audience, I don't know, maybe Facebook farms were liking my page or something, but it's still not doing well enough, number one. Number two, when you add somebody on a Facebook profile, it is like you are inviting them to your home. So the from where I am coming from in trying to build relationships and friendships, it's important that it's not a monologue but a dialogue. So that's why I encourage people to do more from their personal profile. Once they're big enough, then they can go to their page. But if they have time, if they're students, they should stick, in my opinion, to their personal profile so that people know that they're real. It's not like a page. It's like a company to me. The page sounds like so professional.
That's true. And that was where I was really going with that, Rehan, is that if you do want to be a professional broadcaster and create a brand for your broadcasts and do it for your business, that would be the recommendation to go to the page. And I may have misspoke myself when I first said it. I do believe in the concept that you just mentioned, which was to get people to know you, like you, and trust you, is to go out there and just broadcast to your profile and do it as soon as and as often as you can, really.
Yeah. So for example, one of my companies called Virtual Phone Line. It's like Google Voice. I was the first one in the planet to do something like that, long time ago. So on that page, one of my guys would take all the question and answers from which they come in their inboxes or their tickets, and then they would go out and do a show for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, answering those questions over and over. Oh, Mr. Blah, blah, blah asked this question, so we will answer that. So it's like, trying to interact with the customers over the page. But in this world where I'm trying to connect people, I request everyone to personal thingy also.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And Be Live gives us that opportunity. I can't really push this platform enough for those who aren't accustomed to the broadcasting world, who have never done this before. This is by far and large one of the easiest and most elaborate systems out there to broadcast from. And not only that, there's more to come. There are more features that Zafir and Daniel are constantly working on and maintaining and building to be stronger and better every day. So my shout out to those two.
Shout out to those two on the side. He has the same last name as my first name, so he's my kid or something.
There you go. Right.
Anyways, thank you so much, Leland. Really, really an honor meeting you and talking to you. April, thank you for joining. Kapil, Farooq, everyone who joined in, the gentleman from the UK, Stephen Haley. I look forward to talking to you also and having I love the name of your show, what's it, Blabbering for UK or something?
Stephen does Blabbing for Britain, but Stephen and I also have a show on Tuesday at noon Eastern time, which will be coming up this coming week, which is Across the Pond. We'll be doing our 32nd or 33rd episode, which is where we get together from both sides and we talk about what's going on this side of the Atlantic and what's going on that side of the Atlantic. So you guys are always welcome to join us. Simply find us there also on our fan page, which is at Across the Pond Live.
Well, he is also on my friend list, so now he will be getting a lot of friend requests. You will be getting a lot of friend requests. I will be posting this on my page and boosting it. So my target is to have you at least 1,000 followers from Pakistan. So you will have a lot of engagement from this part of the world automatically. And and my belief is, there is people who want to hear their poetry. So if you have a lot of followers from our part of the world, you'll automatically be forced to talk about the issues in our part of the world also.
I totally understand, and we enjoy that. Because, you brought it. And that's just something I really enjoy, is meeting new people, learning about new perspectives. And honestly, unless we all learn to get together and come together as one human race, this world will not see peace. So we hope to build that. Can run it from here, I suppose. Here he comes. I had to take over the show there for a second almost.
But I think if the host disappears, the guest cannot take over the show, as far as I know.
I think whatever camera's available, and you just keep talking until they come back.
I tried that yesterday; it didn't work for me. And
you got an audio going now. You got two audios though. You may have another window open, because I hear an echo from the back end, and that can happen. That's something you just have to. Let me just make that one last point before you go, Rehan, is the fact that don't get frustrated. Don't let live streaming affect your self-confidence. Just understand that it's still very glitchy. It's not your fault if you mess up. If things happen and the connection breaks or the software fails, it's inevitably because it's not quite ready yet. There's still things being done to fix this aspect of live streaming, and until it's never going to be perfect. So just be prepared that they aren't perfect. So that's all.
No, I'm sure you have dealt with Amigas and Commodore 64s in your time, so I am of that time also. So I know how to be patient and use a 14 kilobyte modem and
Yep.
and use the internet. Actually, I had a modem for 33 bits per second or something. It was
Yeah,
really
I connected them together and had two phone lines going out so that I could live broadcast back in the 90s. That was what it was.
oh my God. I broadcasted my wedding in 1996 on this See You See Me software, so my family in the US can see it.
Yeah.
And I used to be distributor for See You See Me. I don't think they even exist anymore.
No, I don't.
Um, and then I became distributor for media. So I did. Then I made our broadcasting website called tvpakistan.com in 1997, and there was no YouTube back then. So
Yeah.
even today, if we post anything there, and because of Google ranking, it goes up above YouTube because the domain is from 1997 and YouTube is from
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
2004.
Very cool.
So
Very
yeah.
nice. And what else?
Anyways, thank you.
Move ahead.
Huh?
We just move ahead. We continue to take on the world one step at a time, one live broadcast at a time.
There you go. And I'm hoping we can be better friends and we can start a show between Pakistan and the US. I think that would be very interesting to do. I have some people who are interested in politics. I to talk about politics. I like to talk about issues and how we can solve them. I think politics is going to transform itself in the coming years. Um, so let's see what happens.
Let me throw out one
My
more.
my problem is I cannot be punctual. I like to sleep more. I like my freedom.
And just to note this, in case people out there are like freaking out because they're thinking, oh, I got to be on camera. I got to be on camera. That's not true. Just to put it out there for now, if you're not quite ready to be on camera yet, Facebook audio is on its way. It will be a podcasting type broadcast. And there is also the opportunity to simply turn off your camera and speak to the people. And we know of several individuals who use that process also. It's a starting block, is all I'm saying. That if you're not ready to be on camera, at least let your voice be heard, because it's your voice that's most important.
Thank you, Leland. Thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed this talk.
All right. Well, you all have a great weekend. And I know it's getting late over there in Pakistan, but we've already spoken about how many true connections we can make with your people. So let's make it happen.
Yeah. All right. Cheers.
Here, Rehan. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.